Hello, again, welcome to Advanced Management Accounting YouTube lecture series. Today, we're going to take a look at variances. And we're going to look at my two favorite, market share and market size. And I'm going to discuss the importance of these two with you through this problem. So you've had a chance now to look at Chow Chow. And I'm going to go over part B, C, and D of the question with you. Now, the first thing I want you to do, and it's intentionally done this way, is I want you to scan the question. I want you to look at the budgeted data, and I want you to look at the actual data. And the question I want you to ask yourself, were we close in the budget versus the actual? And I'm going to emphasize that a lot today, because that's really important in our analysis. So let's get started. Let's get started with calculating the market share variance. And let's take a look at how to do that. Now, I've got the question, and I've got the formula written over here of how to do the market share. And as I mentioned in class, you have to know how to use and interpret these formulas. So the first thing we want to do is we want to calculate our actual market share of what we basically were able to achieve. So looking at the actual data, and we'll take a look at our actual market share. We had 12,000 sales of puppy, 8,000 of young, 10,000 of mature. So 12,000, 8,000, 10,000. We had 30,000 of actual bags sold of our dog food. Now, the market was 300,000. So 30,000 over 300,000, we had 10% of the market. That is our actual market share. Now, what did we anticipate? What was our budgeted market share that we were looking for and striving for? So our budgeted market share, well, that was 8,000 of puppy, 10,000 of young, 7,000 of mature. So 8,000, 10,000, 7,000. That was 25,000 units that we were expecting to sell. We actually sold 30. We were expecting to sell 25. So right off the bat, that's good. We sold more than we expected. What was the forecast for the industry? 200,000 units. So we were expecting to sell 25,000 out of the 200,000 units available in the industry. So we were expecting to sell 12.5% of the entire market. So you can see that that's actually lower than what we did control. We only controlled 10%. We thought we would control 12.5%. Now, as I mentioned in class and understanding this formula, we have one more very important calculation that we need to do. We need to calculate our budgeted average unit contribution margin. So we need to calculate our budgeted average unit contribution margin. So we focus on our budgeted data, and we take a look at puppy, young, and mature. What was our budgeted unit contribution margin for each of these? Well, I'll do the first one with you. Puppy, we had a selling price that we budgeted for $1.50. We estimated our variable cost would be 50 cents. So our budgeted contribution margin for puppy was going to be $1. And we are going to sell 8,000 units. So 8,000 times $1, $8,000. So if we do similar calculations for young and mature, young would have $10,000. Mature would have $14,000. Therefore, we would have a budgeted amount of $32,000. Now, we anticipated selling 25,000 units. So 32,000, our budgeted amount, over our 25,000 units sold, gives us our average unit contribution margin of $1.28. Now that we have that information, we can now solve our two variances, our market share and our market size. And we just put that information into our equation, and we'll be able to get an idea of how well we're doing. So let's move over here, and we will solve these two equations now. So for our market share, here's the formula there. Actual market size, 300,000, times our actual market share, which was 10%, so 0.10, less our budgeted market share, which was 12.5%, times our budgeted average unit contribution margin, which was $1.28. Put it together, it comes out to a negative number, which means that that's unfavorable. And we'll have a 9,600 unfavorable amount. And that makes sense because our actual market share was 10%. We budgeted 12.5, so we underperformed. That's why it's unfavorable. Now, for our market size variance, we anticipated a market size of 200,000. The actual market size was 300,000. Well, that's really good. So let's take a look now at how to calculate this. Actual market size, 300,000. Budgeted market size, 200,000. So we'll take 300,000 minus 200,000, times that by our expected market share, which was 0.125. Multiply that by our budgeted average unit contribution margin, which is $1.28. We're going to get 16,000 favorable. So the fact that the market increased versus what we budgeted, generally speaking, that's a very favorable amount for us then. So you can see when you compare this is that we're not keeping up to pace on the market share, but we're also, fortunately, benefiting from the market size variance. Now let's go into part D, the analysis part. And I've taught this topic for a number of years. This is the area where students struggle on tests. And I want to emphasize this a little bit with you, is make sure you spend some time really working hard on the analysis of this. I guess as a society, or as generally as students or whatever, we kind of always look at the negative. Let's make sure when we do analysis that we always focus on both positive and negative. Too many times I only see the negative side. Let's make sure we highlight the positive as well. So let's go through this, and this is how I would analyze this. The first thing I do on every single question that I look at is how well was the budgeting versus the actual done. Did we do a really good job with our budgeting? Well, let's take a look at this question. Do you think we did a really good job? The answer is no, and it's emphatically no. That's why I use this question, because I want to really emphasize this point. We budgeted a selling price of puppy for $1.50. The actual selling price was $3.50. Holy cow, we were off a lot. We budgeted a market of 200,000, and the actual market was 300,000. Yikes, we're not even close. We budgeted variable costs of 50 cents and $1.50 and $2.50. We were off on pretty much all of those by at least $1. For young, we were off by $2. So the first thing I want to emphasize here is that from a budgeting perspective, this was done very, very poorly. It's pretty much almost made this useless to use. And that's where, as a company, we would want to focus how are we doing the budgeting process, and where did we make mistakes, and where can we improve. Now that's the first part. Now let's go past that and analyze this. Now what do I see that's really good? Well, first off, I see us selling more units. I see us selling 30,000 units. We only expected to sell 25. That's awesome. I see a market size that's 300,000 versus 200,000. That's awesome. What do I see as a negative? We actually only control 10% of the market. We thought we would control 12.5%. So what's happening there? Is someone coming in and basically offering more competition to us? Is our product getting weaker or poorer? What are the reasons? So when you do analysis like this, it's all about developing questions. What's happening? And remember, this is the key point. Focus on the opportunities as well as the weaknesses. So where's our opportunity? So I would then, taking this into consideration, I would look at even a further analysis. I look at mature, for example, and I see that it has a unit contribution margin, actual unit contribution margin of 6. That's huge. So is there an opportunity to maybe sell more of the mature bags of dog food versus the other two products? Should we maybe be emphasizing that in our sales opportunity and marketing? Anyways, I hope this question, this analysis has helped you out a lot with this material. And remember, I love market share and I love market size variances. Probably with any company, these are the two most important variances. They identify things that are changing in the marketplace, and they certainly must, then you must look at your strategies as a company. Think of Research in Motion, for example, of how their market changed so quickly with Apple coming into the marketplace and really taking over a lot of their business. So that's a really good example of how a market can change really quickly for a company. Thank you.